can't take this anymore, dude. I can't do it. I can't do it. They just don't. They don't do it. I'm mad about it.
Okay, I'm sorry. Video games are not taken serious enough. Ever since the beginning, the inception, nobody has taken video games seriously. Well, nobody except us people who actually like the damn things, right? It's been seen as juvenile. It's been seen as it rots your brain, or like it's for kids, or that's baby stuff, or whatever. Like, the outside looking in has always been grim. It's not a positive outlook. And that's had standing and lasting repercussions. I need you guys to understand. I'm actually upset about something. And this video wasn't even a twinkle in my eye until a couple of days ago, when I listened to a specific soundtrack. We'll get into that, okay? But before that, we need to understand where we are now, and in order to do that, we have to go back a little bit. Video games have always been, you know, the baby's medium, entertainment for children or whatever. But as we get closer and closer to today's standard, we're spending so much resources on making entertaining video games in AAA and whatnot. It's increasingly and rapidly getting closer, and if not better, than film. But you know what's always been good? The music. I mean, there's always been bad music too, but there's amazing video game music. I'm talking revolutionary video game music. Even off the top of my head, without even thinking about it, Doom 2016 is so influential, it's a crime to not consider that. But I'm here to talk about the Grammys. And I know, I could see it in your eyes right now. You're like, what are you talking about, dude? What? Bro, for real? We have our own video game awards and all that stuff. Yeah. But this is not the same. Okay? We're talking about influential cultural stuff here. You can't just throw that away to some other category that is separated to the kids' table.
You won.
It's time to be big boys about this stuff. So what are the Grammys? I won't get too much into the history of all this stuff. If you really want to know, there's a bunch of information on the internet about the Grammys. But as a starting point, it's May 4th, 1959. It's meant to celebrate and award musicians for the artistic contributions that they're making. There's a lot of different categories, and I'm talking, it gets more and more as the years go by. The categories range from Best Arrangement to Song of the Year to Album of the Year to Record of the Year, blah, 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 blah. Like, it goes on and on. Jazz, ensemble, orchestrated stuff, whatever. They subcategorize all of these things, and then awards are given out to those who have done very exceptional in their category. So just last year, a single year ago, they added the reason why we're even here. In the year of our Lord and Savior, 2023, Best Score Soundtrack for Video Games and Other Interactive Media was added as a category for the Grammys. That's insane. That leaves out so many games. Unbelievable amount of games that we're talking about here. We're talking about from baby times NES to all the way up to last year. None of those have received nominations or anything Grammy-wise. They've certainly gotten awards, right? But nothing as reputable as a Grammy. But before we get into like the video game side of it, I just wanted to talk a little bit about what are the Grammys to me? Like, why am I even talking about this, you know? The Grammys are kind of something that I never really paid attention to, but can acknowledge the reasoning behind the choices made, you know what I mean? Like, contemporary pop music and stuff like that, I don't listen to a lot of it. But the stuff that I do listen to, and the stuff that is given awards to, I can understand why it's given awards to, right? For instance, Billie Eilish. Billie leans into this kind of like emotional, soft, vulnerable side of pop music that hasn't been in the forefront for an extremely long time. And when that happened, and when people started putting their eyes on it and started to really vibe with it, everybody wanted to do that shit. That's what I'm talking about. That's worthy of an award for me. You know what I mean? But what really made me think about the Grammys, weirdly enough, is Skrillex. Timba on Toast made a fantastic video about a year or so ago or something like that, talking about how dubstep came to be and how it eventually got morphed into brostep, as we call it now, by Skrillex and, you know, other artists like Skrillex, and how it kind of killed off dubstep as it was and what it was meant to be. That video is fantastic. You should watch that. You should go check it out. It's amazing. However, I don't see Skrillex as a villain. I never have. Like, just because somebody's lucky or popular or whatever, like, you know, I don't think that's villainous. But I do think there's something to be learned there. So when I went back a couple of weeks ago, I listened to a bunch of Skrillex. I listened to all their albums, a lot of the EPs and stuff, and what I learned throughout their journey was that they did indeed deserve Grammys, and they've won multiple, time after time. Dance and electronic, best track, best album, whatever. The man's a force of nature, okay? But they deserve it. I can see it. I can understand why. I'm into EDM. I understand that, you know, not everybody's about EDM and whatever, but it has its own category. That's not the point. The point is I can see why they deserve it. Now, say what you will about brostep, but it was super influential. Ads started doing it. Normal fucking movies and stuff started having it in there. Like, it was a play. You know what I'm saying? Skrillex adapted out of that and moved into just dance electronic and a bunch of other genres for the better. They've only gotten better since. Now, what they make now might not be what you're into, but that's not to say that they aren't doing it very well. Either way, all of that is just to say, the Grammys aren't necessarily just about winning and like being the best or whatever. It's about what you provide, what you can culturally push forward. It makes sense to me because everybody started doing that. Everybody started copying Skrillex. Everybody started copying Billie Eilish. Everybody started doing what other people are doing because people like it. That's influential. That's Grammy worthy. Now, not everything has to be that way in order to get a Grammy, but oftentimes it does align. Here's the issue. Video game music is unbelievably influential. The fact that games such as Halo and God of War and stuff like that hasn't been acknowledged the way that contemporary music is a disservice. Now, sometimes there are awards, Grammys, given to video game music, but it's not because it was in a video game. It's because of other things, like it was the best arrangement, it was the best adaptation. So technically the first time a game had a Grammy awarded to it was Civilization 4. Now it was for, what was it, an arrangement with vocals or something like that? It was for the song Baba Yetu. It's a really cool, like, you know, what you would expect from Civilization. And then there was also, more recently, Meta Knight's Revenge in 2001 won a Grammy in the category Best Arrangement, Instrumental or Acapella from the video game Kirby Superstar. But it wasn't that game, it was a rearrangement of that track by 8-Bit Big Band. It's super good, like, you guys gotta watch that one for sure. That was 1 year before they added the new category. Once the new category was in, Stephanie Ikonama won the Grammy for Best Score Soundtrack for Video Games and Other Interactive Media, the category we just talked about, in 2023. So it's rolling out. We're rolling it out. 2024 was the next one. It was Star Wars Jedi Survivor, Stephen Barton and Gordy Habb. So all this being said, society's disdain for video games is lessening and lessening over time. That makes this a lot easier for us to feel like we aren't working towards an uphill battle to even be considered, listened to, or given a passing glance. You know, all the music that has been missed since that time. It's staggering. I can think of so many songs, so many tracks, so many albums. But there was one that put me on this path. There was one that vanguarded all of this. And the reason that I am even making this video. The other day, your boy listened to the Celeste soundtrack. Now, I've never played Celeste, okay? I know what Celeste is like, but I've never played it. But the thing is that without playing Celeste and picking up a couple of hints here and there of like what the fuck this game is about, this soundtrack is unbelievable. I'm talking how it fits the game, how it actually uses what video game music sounds like to its advantage, and everything that you can imagine, like accolades given to video game music. This soundtrack deserves so much. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So Celeste was a game that released in 2018. It's kind of a platformer where, you know, you climb this mountain as this girl. It's a very story-based experience, but also a very challenging experience as well. It won plenty of awards. It was up there with like best indie games of that year. It was a really good game. The team did a really fantastic job. Back on track, the music was created and composed by Elena Rain. Now, before she worked on this game, she worked on Guild Wars 2 a lot. So working on an MMO requires that you need, honestly, top tier level composition ability. The determination that you would need and the skills you would need in order to pull that off is a lot. So I don't know how the devs of Celeste got that to happen, but they did. When they did that, they possibly made the best decision that they could have ever made. Because a part of the reason that this game is so good is because of the music.
Jake, you're back! Shut your face! I came back for the music.
And I'm not just saying that because, oh, I like video game music. You don't understand. Celeste's soundtrack can tell a story by itself. That's how good it is. I know exactly the story beats that are happening when I was listening to the soundtrack on Spotify. I know exactly what the fuck's happening. I mean, I don't exactly really know what's happening, but I can imagine it so clearly, like what the actual story of this game is and how it plays out. That's super powerful. Not to mention the fact that it's leaning into the fact that most indie games use chiptune, right? Chiptune has been a thing since the NES, right? We've been listening to Mario Jump, doing the jump thing for a long time. But like the way that it uses chiptune and then on top of that pushes the genre forward in a way that isn't too invasive for chiptune, right? For video games is crazy. Like this stuff needs to be studied for real. Whether it be the hip hop influence or the break beats or the way that atmospheric stuff is thrown in there or the way that there's subtle shimmers and stuff in the background or whatever the case may be, right? There's so much to talk about. If you just listen to it, it's crazy. Now, that's not to say that there aren't games out there that have fantastic music to this point, right? Like, there's been amazing chiptune up to this point. But I haven't felt like I felt whenever I heard what Skrill was doing and pushing his medium forward in a way that, like, everybody wanted to copy that. And everybody wanted to be that. Everybody wanted to reach that state, right? I haven't heard music that feels that inspiring in the same way for indie games. Sure, there's been some cool songs and stuff and cool soundtracks, like Hyper Light Drifter, amazing soundtrack, right? Very similar in the fact that they use very similar like timbres of sounds and like atmospheric stuff. Same thing with Fez. Fez has also a very interesting timbral sound that is very reminiscent. They're both very close to what Celeste is doing, but Celeste is doing just that much more. You don't understand unless you've listened to a bunch of video game music and chiptune. You can't grasp what the difference is, but I promise you it's there. If you want to get into music composition, please do yourself a favor, go study this stuff. Find out what she's doing and take that energy and take that knowledge for yourself, because this shit is crazy. Now, enough of me gushing about it, okay? I'm sorry, I got a little carried away. But, you know, I'm over here and I'm listening to this shit and I'm like, this shit needs a Grammy, dude. We need to get Grammys on this. And that took me down the whole pathway of, does video games even qualify for Grammys? How crazy is it that it's literally just last year that they finally made something for that? Now, that's not to say that these songs and these compositions haven't gotten awards, right? Celeste soundtrack was nominated for a BAFTA, British Academy of Film and Television Arts, right? And it won American Society of Composers, Authors, and Publishers. It's not like they aren't getting praise. It's just not contemporary praise. That's the issue. That's what makes me upset. It's like we need our own little kids table for our own little awards. It's like a participation badge, you know what I mean? It's not, but it's that's what it feels like, you know? Anyways, sorry for the rambly video, but I was really passionate and I needed to talk about it, dude. I was flabbergasted when I found out about this stuff. But, you know, I thought, like, what would be interesting? Like, if we did some, like, retroactive OSTs getting, like, the Grammy Award. Like, what do you think would deserve it? You know? Easy ones, I'm gonna tell you right now. Halo, right? God of War, easy. Undertale, Symphony of the Night, Castlevania Symphony of the Night, obviously. Hollow Knight, Dark Souls, fucking Silver Surfer on the NES, right? Fucking to that effect. You know, Tim Fallon needs to get his own Hall of Fame. Just, there's so much disrespect since that time, you know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. It's so wild to me. But anyways, we all know damn well they deserve it, right? Let's just pretend deep down inside that they all got the awards that they deserve. You guys have a good one, okay? Peace.